right.
And this is recording.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been very good through Zoom to be able to do that.
Nice.
All right. Well, welcome, guys. Welcome. This is Adam Clark. Got Noah Karen here at Adam Clark Fitness, actually rocking my new Adam Clark Fitness sweatshirt. So the great thing about these, you got the fuzzies on the inside, so it's nice and fleecy. I also got Adam Clark Fitness underneath here, so really repping. Got Adam Clark Fitness mask. So I have Adam Clark Fitness underwear on too, but I'm not going to show those. I'm just kidding. I don't have those, but we do sell them on our website. So if you go to our website, adamclarkfitness.com/shop, you can get your Adam Clark Fitness branded underwear. But we're not talking about underwear today. We're talking about fats. So first off, Noah, I think one problem with the word fat, right? It has this negative connotation, and instantly we think of body fat, right? We think of body fat, we think of bad. But that's not always the case, right? That's not always the case. So I'm going to let you take most of this over. You are the expert at this. And so tell us what are fats?
Yeah, so they come in a lot of different forms, and we'll be kind of getting into that. We'll be a lot of sciencey stuff, I guess you could say. I'm sure a lot of stuff you've heard here and there. And you call me an expert. I don't consider myself an expert. I always got more stuff to know, and I'm sure you can always toss a little bit in. But you're talking about your sweatshirt. I got some Holton Farms dairy sweatshirt talking about fats. Wow. Right in the dairy section representing
good ice cream, right? Good ice cream.
County, we're on front. Oh yeah, the best ice cream, hands down.
Gotta rep it. Rep it.
So going a little bit more about what fats are, they go by a lot of different names. And you might hear them as lipids. That's usually when they're dealing with cells in the body. You hear them as triglycerides. That's usually when they're stored as energy. And then I've seen a little push in the health community, just change the name completely just to energy, because that's pretty much what they are. It's just energy for your body to use. And there's a lot of different things they do, more than just giving you energy. But they're I mean, you need them to live. So yeah, we'll dive in a little bit. So yeah. How we know fat is what is called adipose tissue. And in that tissue, it stores triglycerides. So if you say you eat a bajillion calories and then you don't burn them off, and so your body's like, well, we don't want to just get rid of these, we're going to save them for later in case we need them for later. That's how we evolved. We evolved on that need to keep energy around, because we didn't know when our next meal was going to be. Obviously that's not the case anymore, as we've adapted and grown. So they would just store some of the fat away, and we use it later for anytime we needed extra energy. And now we're just storing triglycerides in adipose tissue all the time. I'm going to try to avoid using the name fat throughout this. It's going to be difficult for me.
It's going to be hard. That's going to be hard.
Oh yeah. So one of the biggest things that I've noticed and what I've seen in different research studies and stuff is how important it is for your brain. I don't know if you remember, it was probably about 10 years ago or so, maybe a little less, when the big fat-free fad came through, and you're doing skim milk all the time, and low fat this, low fat that. I mean, you'll still see it here and there, but there's I remember the big fad when I was growing up, a big thing. And what they found was diets that were not very high in fat. There was a few links to some. It was nothing like set in stone, like this is exactly what caused it, but a few links, which means it suggests it could be because of this, with some poor brain health, things like either Alzheimer's, dementia, even like developmental, like younger age, things between concentration and things like that. And never been super proven, but a lot of things out there suggesting at it. And it makes sense because your brain cells, your neurons, all that, most of them are insulated by this thing called a Schwann cell. I'm sure a lot of people have heard it. Has this myelin sheath, which is made out of fat and cholesterol. It's literally what it's made out of. So if you think about it, if you're not giving your body fat and cholesterol, how is that going to hold up? How are you doing that? It's not really. So that was a one link they had made. Another thing, if you're not eating enough fats, you actually, vitamins and nutrients are absorbed into your body through fat. So if you, I'm not sure if anybody's been told to like take supplements of like vitamin A or whatever, or whatever vitamins would be. Some are water soluble, some are fat soluble, depending on. I won't get too much in depth of that. But a lot of times they give you a little pill, and they're like, hey, this is vitamin whatever, you should take this, it'll help you. They oftentimes recommend take it with fat, because you need the fat for it to actually be absorbed properly into your body. So if you're not eating fat, you're not actually getting the vitamin and nutrients that are in foods oftentimes. So that's another downside. You're not supporting your brain if you're not eating fats. You're not getting the vitamins and nutrients you need, because they're not getting absorbed into your body. And one of the biggest things that I found here is, and this is more relevant to a lot of people, is how satiating fats are. I'm sure you probably could speak on this a little bit. I'm sure when you eat a super fatty meal, you feel a little bit more full.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of with you get your three major energy sources: fat, protein, and carbs, right? And if you eat high carbs, then chances are you're hungry not too much later. But when you're eating more fatty foods, foods that are high in fat, foods that are high in protein, right? It's more filling. So we're not overeating, and that's a good thing. I think you cited a study here about breakfast. Tell us a little bit about that study. Breakfast high in MCT resulted in lower energy intake. It looked like a study there. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, for sure. So this I found very relevant to a lot of people. So I know when I wake up in the morning, well, I'm better at now, but when I used to wake up, I'd have like toast or cereal or something, and those are great foods. They are very carbohydrate dense. I remember I'd eat it like it would probably be when I used to never sleep in and go to bed late when I was like in high school. I'd eat like at 7:30 and sprint to school to make it there for 8 or whatever. And then it would be like 9 o'clock, 9:30, and I'd be like, I'm hungry.
Starving, right?
It's barely been any time, and then I can't concentrate in school and all this other stuff, and that's my excuse. But but fat. So what they shown, this is a research study that's been around for a while. It's in quite a few nutrition books and things like that I've learned over the years, and I just pulled it up on a separate article to go a little bit deeper into it. But what it showed in this research, they had people consume different amounts of fat throughout different meals. And so quoting what it says here, breakfast high in MCT, 30% of it, MCT is medium chain triglycerides. I'll get into a little bit later. It resulted in lower energy intake by on average of about 220 calories, which is about a half a meal, maybe a third of a meal at lunchtime, compared to a different style breakfast in healthy individuals. So this is just your average Joe with no health risks of any sort. And so this is a different study, but very similar. They showed that food intake with higher fat at breakfast time was, so not only in the first study they found that they'd eat less at lunchtime, but they found that I'm trying to explain this here. They found throughout the day, their entire day was less calories. If you want to look at it that way, I guess that's put in simple terms. So by eating fattier in the morning, which is great, you feel more full over the day. That's what I'm trying to get at.
And you won't eat as much, right? You're not gonna be craving those carby foods and overeating because you're full. You're satisfied.
Exactly.
I think that's, I mean, it really makes sense. The next part, Noah. So kind of when we get into the physiology, I know this is very frustrating in our world when we places pick up on these, and companies are think all these companies selling their products, right? They're marketing companies that just happen to sell a product. So cholesterol has a bad negative connotation, just like fats does. So when people think, oh, I should not eat foods that are high in cholesterol, that's not how it works. It just the food, when you eat something that's high in cholesterol, that doesn't mean it goes into your bloodstream and it just clogs your arteries. That's not true. So I think that's a frustration. I think companies take advantage of that because they're trying to sell a product, just like the fat free. I mean, fat free is not is more than likely not a healthy product because there's other stuff in it, right? So in terms of cholesterol, you got the good and you got the bad, right? You got the good and the bad. Can you explain, just simply explain those two, what they are, and kind of what they do for the body?
Yeah. So eating cholesterol doesn't translate, as you said, to cholesterol in your body. I know I was never super educated on it, and I don't know if there even today is a real idea of how much translate or where the cholesterol comes from. But so eating fat and different things in your body are turned into cholesterol, as well as eating cholesterol. So it's turned into two different types, as you mentioned. So you have LDL, which stands for low density lipoprotein. So it's LDL. That's how it's labeled. Then you have VLDL, which is even worse. It's very low density lipoproteins, and that's the really super bad. It pretty much is like just does nothing in your body besides wreak havoc. So those are the bad ones, and then you have good ones. And so these are high density lipoproteins. So each of them have a different job. LDL brings lipids, so the fats we were talking about earlier, and cholesterol to cells and stores them in cells, which is we need cells. Will use those. Our body uses them for different processes all the time. So if we have no means to get to the cell, they can't use it. So LDL is good in that sense, but having too much of it, not a good thing. So that's where it's all in moderation. But that HDL, they always say, get your HDL as high as you can. You really want up there, because that's what takes it from the cells to the liver to either be excreted or used as bile, which is very important for different regulatory systems and things like that in your GI tract.
So when we go to the doctor, like if you get your yearly physical, get your yearly blood work, I know. So here's what they test you for. They test you for HDL, LDL, triglycerides, blood, like all that stuff. The frustrating thing can be some people will just look at the total cholesterol, which isn't great. Instead of looking at that total number, what you want to look at your LDL count, you want to look at your HDL count, right? Because if your HDLs are sky high, which is a good thing, right? Then your total cholesterol is going to be higher.
Exactly.
But so it doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, my total cholesterol is over this number that the doctor recommends, right? This number, but it's because you have a lot of good lipoproteins, right? So there's a difference there, and when you are looking at your blood work, just keep that in mind. I know we've had several people come in here. I have high cholesterol. My total cholesterol was high, and then I'm like, well, what were your HDLs? What were your LDLs? And it turned out that the LDLs were in a fine spot. They're just HDLs were high. And then for some too, and we'll get into this a little bit, like to increase your HDLs, exercise is a big thing, right? The exercise is a big thing. But if there could be something genetically that you just have high cholesterol, and that doesn't mean stop exercising or stop eating healthy fats, but you just sometimes genetics plays a role, but so don't let that frustrate you. But just kind of the difference between HDL and LDL, just be Be aware of that. Um, Next thing, so we talk about these fats, and we talk about the different types of fat. Like you have HDL, LDL, um, lipoproteins. So what about we talk about unsaturated fats, saturated fats, trans fats. I know years ago trans fats, like all fast food and stuff,
Yeah.
that was a very very big thing in the news. Can you kind of just talk me through each, or talk us through kind of the good and the bad, and just some examples? Where are some good sources for those?
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. So as you mentioned, the saturated fats got a bad rap for a while, and there's actually a funny video out there which we ended up watching one of my sports nutrition classes. I'm not you might have seen it, but it's this guy keeps coming back from the future, and like so this guy's like eating breakfast and it's probably like set in the 80s or whatever. His wife is cooking him breakfast, and then this guy keeps coming back in the future. He's like, "Oh, don't eat this. This is bad for you." And then he comes back like 5 minutes later, said, "No, this is bad too." So it was funny just saying like how there's always a new thing that people are saying bad to eat, and then they're like, "Oh no, never mind. That's not necessarily the case." So it's actually I always reminds me of the saturated fat thing, because I remember growing up, they said don't eat saturated fats, which those, whenever you think saturated fats, think red meats for the most part, very, very high in those saturated fats. But they're not a bad thing. They're not a bad thing. It has been linked if you eat excessive amounts of like red meat constantly, then you might end up having some heart issues. They don't really know where middle ground is of what's good and what's bad, the moderation point. But saturated fats are good, and you need them. Another big source, my favorite source of saturated fats, are coconut oils. Coconut oil. So this is something I'll get into in a minute, but coconut oil is one of the biggest concentrations of MCTs and medium chain triglycerides. Love them. They're awesome. Anyway, so going on to the other two, polysaturated and mono, or polyunsaturated and monounsaturated. So a saturated fat is like all about its composition. If you look into the chemistry behind it, what it looks like, which changes how it's broken down in the body. Same with monounsaturated and polyunsaturated. They're very similar, but they have a little differences here and there. So monounsaturated, you find these a lot with a lot of some oils, especially things coming from nuts, and so peanut butter. It's a great monounsaturated fat right there. I know you love your peanut butter.
Yeah.
Avocado.
In moderation, though. In moderation.
I mean,
a whole jar with
a banana. That sounds like.
That's healthy, right? I love it. I love it.
Some oils, especially the nut oils. Avocados are a huge one too, and I don't know many people that don't love avocados.
I don't. I do not like avocado. So I wish I liked avocado. Maybe I just need to. I don't know. I need to do something, but it's something about the texture. The texture, and I don't even think they taste like much. I don't even know. It's just the texture, and I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just need to give it another try and force myself. Right? It's hard. It's hard, but I can eat peanut butter with the best of them. The other day it was actually National National Peanut Butter Lovers Day.
Celebrate.
So I did celebrate. So my favorite is Teddy's brand, all natural peanut butter. Creamy's good, but also crunchy is good too. So I'll take both.
For crunchy, I gotta be in the mood.
Yeah, gotta be in the mood. What would put you in the mood for crunchy peanut butter?
Oh, I guess it's what I'm eating it with. If I'm just eating it by itself, the crunch isn't too bad. If I'm putting it on toast, I'm like, the toast is crunchy enough, It's got to put
I don't know. Crunchy's good, man. Crunchy's good. Gives a little something.
Anybody watches this later, you got to put in the comments what your favorite is, crunchy or creamy.
Yeah.
Competition.
And what brand too. So like I grew up on like Jiffy. Yeah, Jiffy. Or what was the other big one? There's Jiffy and Skippy. Skippy, okay. I think I was a Jiffy kid, but once you try the all natural stuff, it's very oily. So that's one thing. You really have to stir it out. Very oily. once you have all natural peanut butter, it's very hard to go the other way.
Yeah.
It's just a totally different taste. Yeah, if you're watching this later or watching it now, definitely comment what is your favorite type of peanut butter. If you don't like peanut butter, then sucks to be you. And we have several people at the gym that don't. I can't even. We probably should raise their rates. An extra raise their rates. Like Chris Davis, he doesn't like peanut butter, but Chris Mex, it must be a Chris thing. But all right, well, we've gone off topic there, but you're talking about the different types of fats. So polyunsaturated, monounsaturated, essentially the unsaturated fats are the good ones, right? And saturated in moderation. Is that safe to say?
Common consensus that's safe to say.
Yep.
Not that any of them, obviously all of them in excess are not good, because
right.
That's when you're really you're undoing your diet there. Maybe the
Yep.
same if you ate 1,000 grams of carbs or whatever. You eat too much of anything, it's always bad,
1,000 grams of carbs. Wow.
Yeah,
that'd be a lot. That'd be a lot of carbs.
You're like the Michael Phelps or something like that.
Yeah, that would be a lot. Don't do that if you're watching. But
No.
then you have and this was big in fast food, right? The trans fats.
Yeah.
So I know now, are trans fats banned? Is that or is that a thing? Are they banned, or did most like fast food chains, did they get rid of those?
Most of them did, yeah.
Okay.
So they've been banned in other countries for many years, and America was pretty late to this thing. I'm sure
Not shocking
behind it if you really looked into it. But you can still find it. You can still find trans fat on the shelves in grocery stores and stuff.
Really?
And the biggest thing is, even if it says 0 trans fat or trans fat free, you can still put trans fat in there. And
does it have to be less than a certain number? Is that what it is?
It has to be less than a certain number of trans fat in there, but they can say there's 0 or low or like no trans fat. And it's crazy. It's crazy. So some things to look out for. Just a little like throw that in there is microwavable popcorn. That's a common place. A lot of them have gotten better in the past. Probably 3 to 4 years, they really have changed around and started not using the trans fat. But trans fat, why people liked it is it stayed the right consistency for a long period of time, and it pretty much was hydrogenated. So it's the chemical composition. They're adding hydrogens to it to make it stable. And so it wasn't very good because your body actually couldn't use it like at all, pretty much. So it would just sit in your body and wreak havoc on your blood and stuff like that. But now it's a little bit better. They used to fry foods in it a lot because you could buy it in bulk and just keep it and it would never spoil. And then you just put it in the fry machine and then you fry your fries with it or whatever. I'm pretty sure most fast food companies, that's where the fast foods use it a lot. I'm pretty sure they have gotten out of those trans fats because they know how bad they are.
I think it was revealed probably in the early 2000s. That's when it really came about. Those fast food documentaries like Super Size Me and things like that. Like that really brought to light a lot of things, which is good, right? That's a good thing. But you're telling me my movie theater butter popcorn may have trans fats. There's a strong possibility.
Yeah, I would honestly, if you did a little more research online, you'd be able to find out the individual brands. I would say at this point, if you asked me 5 years ago, I would say yes, more than likely it does have trans fat of some sort, even though it might be a very tiny amount. It's still not a great.
But now it's changed. We've kind of evolved.
I couldn't tell you exactly how many because it's still those regulations they can put on that bag. They might actually did get rid of all the trans fat and say there's no trans fat in here. But you also have those other companies that maybe they'll say that, but they legally can still have a little bit in there. So that's where it gets.
That's kind of crazy.
Extra careful, mostly with the popcorns. That's a big one. Microwavable popcorn. That's a big thing I eat. I make sure I get like I look into my brand a little bit before I buy them. But that's one big thing. Another big thing is pastries. Oftentimes pastries will do that same thing. No trans fat in here. And you can even look on the nutrition label and it can say 0 grams trans fat, and it will actually still have some sort
Yeah.
of fat in there.
So we know our sources, we know the good and the bad, we know a little bit more about fats. In terms of burning body fat, I know there's a lot of, when we're doing, you see on treadmills and you're in the fat burning zone, or you're and that's usually the fat burning zone is a lower, more steady state type of zone, which it can be good and bad. And here's I'll say the bad part. Don't let that confuse you. You're gonna burn fat when you're in a higher zone too. Don't worry about oh, I don't want to get out of my walking zone because running, I'm not in the fat burning zone, right? That's not, don't let that fool you. I mean, the big thing is fats are more complex. It takes it's a longer process to break down. For those short burst activities, right? Our body relies on carbs. Our body relies on that instant energy, right? Because we need it now when we're hammering out intervals. But if we're on like a long walk or like a long steady run, at first, sure, your body's using those carbs, and you're going to be using the carbs throughout, but it's going to get into that steady state cycle and be able to use those fats to burn. So I guess that my main point there is, don't let the fat burning zone on a treadmill fool you. If you want running, you're going to burn fat, right? Doing intervals, you're going to burn fat. It's healthy. It's healthy to do that. You don't just have to walk all the time to be in the fat burning zone. Is there anything you can add to that, or you want to add to that?
I mean, that was summed up really well. The low steady state. Even just fat burning aside, walking is amazing, even if it's just some sort of exercise in general. But
Yep.
walking is those low steady states, like you said, you don't have the demand for your body to produce that quite quick energy, so it likes to store that quick energy away for
Yep.
later, and it'll just
Mm-hmm.
start burning that slow fat, which does take a second or two to break down, because you need more oxygen, you need some other components in there as well. But like when you are burning the carbohydrates, what it does is depleting your stores, because what happens is carbohydrates will be stored in different forms,
Right.
and over time they'll be stored as adipose tissue if you don't use them long enough. So that's how you eat straight carbs for forever and still gain fat.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It's not like, no doubt, Yeah, that's why you really, I mean, all I can say is try to have a balanced diet, right? Try to, if you're gonna eat your carbs, right? We're gonna eat carbs, but make them the good carbs. Make it the fruit, make it the vegetables, make it things like that. And then for fats, make it the good fats. Make it salmon, make it eggs, make it meat, make it the coconut oil. And then if you want to break it further, what the proteins, make it the lean stuff, right? Make it the lean meats, the beans, things like that. And if you can eat your food where it's not processed, right, you're going to be in a better spot. That's pretty much kind of hits the nail on the head. But and one other thing, so you got protein, you got fat, you got carbs. Protein, fats, and carbs. Protein and carbs, 1 gram is 4 calories, right? 4 calories. Whereas fat is 9 calories, and that sort of speaks to, don't let that fool you on the nutrition label. If you're just going by grams, always remember that 1 gram of fat is equal to 9 calories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're certainly not equal.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No. And the biggest things I really want to stress is because I know, just getting out of that old, not eating enough fats, and fats are more than they're a huge energy source, but also necessary for so many nutrients we need. Those good fats. That was what I really wanted. If somebody take one thing home from this is still eat those good fats, because you need them for so many bodily functions that you do every day.
Yeah.
And so that's why getting good fats are important. Don't think fat's a bad thing.
Yeah.
Those fats between brain health, vitamins, minerals, you name it. Omegas is another part of fat.
Mhm.
And it's important to be balanced in all those. So a lot of people don't like fish as much, but those polyunsaturated fats are really great for you're getting your omegas 3s and 6s. And what they've shown
Yep.
is if you don't have a good balance of them, then it's not great. So it's not always eat one fat source for the rest of your life and you'll be all set. Make sure it's balanced. That's the biggest thing. If you take home one thing there, is take home that.
Yep.
Get a good balance. Get good balanced fats. Don't be
Yeah.
stingy with them. I think they say a good diet's about 15 to 20% fat.
So I've been tracking my food lately, and I'm actually so I eat a lot, and here's the thing, tracking your food can make a big difference. I don't believe tracking your food over the long term is good, but and we've talked about this in the past, but tracking it in the short term just makes you become more aware. So we're looking at Monday, what I ate. If we look at the well, this is kind of amazing. My macro breakdown was 40% carbs, 30% fat, 30% protein. Like literally, like right on the money, which is kind of crazy. And then I'm a little bit higher in the carbs, right around 40, 45%.
That's normal. I mean, anywhere from 50 in that range from 40 to 60, 70 of your carbs.
Yeah.
What you'll see there is you end up eating less fats. That's the big thing. So
yeah, I'm generally like just looking back at my week last week, I was in like the 30 to 40 range in fat. And then protein was right around hovering around 30 to 35. But that's kind of it's a good thing.
One thing, it's not fully studied, but I've seen some preliminary studies and stuff on, but is like preference and how you feel with that. So some people really like eating a lot of carbs, so you'll rely heavily on a lot of your carbs. So my diet is about, I think most I can't think. I think I have about 20 to 25% is usually fat on average, and then but I eat more carbs, so I end up eating about 40 to 50% carbs, and then 40 to
I think most people do, right? I think most people kind of fall into that. If I could do one thing, it would be up my protein a little bit more. But sometimes when we're on the go a lot, it's hard to hammer down protein. And I don't want protein shakes all the time, you know.
Try eating like 50 grams of protein in chicken, and then
you can't.
And you feel like you need to take like a 20 after, like
so you have to.
That's the hardest thing.
Right. But 50 grams of carbs, easy. Like I can do that in 5 seconds.
Yeah, one actually thing, if we're on top of protein real quick, is in my sports nutrition class, and this, so I know it's sports nutrition, but it's for everybody. They recommend if you can get about 30 grams of protein with each meal, it's kind of like a thing to hit. If you hit 30 grams, breakfast, lunch, dinner, it really helps breakdown of muscle tissue over time, which is what we really need. So just it adds that stimulation. So what they actually looked at was an elderly population of people 75 and older, and their consumption. And so they looked at, like, if you're at 20 grams per meal, you were okay. You were not having super breakdown, but if you hit 30, you were doing awesome. You're doing awesome. So aim for that 30 grams for
well, let's see. I want to see what my breakdown was. I think we can look. I don't even know if I can do that on.
While you're looking at that, so for breakfast, if people are having trouble finding foods that are fatty in the morning, because fat in the morning, as I mentioned that research study, great for keeping full and not eating as many calories through the day. It's also great for your insulin, because a lot of people wake up, they haven't been eating for 8 hours because you were sleeping, and then the first thing you eat is the big bowl of sugary cereal or something. That's going to spike your insulin through the roof. It's not great. So eating more fatty stuff, not only does it keep you full, but it protects your insulin. So things like eggs with the egg yolk in them, things like that. If you have trouble getting protein in, I get a carton of egg whites, and I actually do egg whites most mornings. That's how I get a lot of my protein in the morning. Those are just a couple things. Avocados on a bagel, avocados on something else. Put some
Yep.
coconut oil or some butter even on some bagels. As long as you're not lactose intolerant, then. But that's how you get fats in your diet in the morning.
So my breakdown of protein for breakfast, this is looking at Monday. So for breakfast, I had I had 35 grams of protein.
Mhm.
For lunch, I had 51. For dinner, I had 50.
That's good.
And then throughout the day, I had, um, I had a lot of fruit throughout the day, but a perfect bar, which is actually high in fat. I had some nuts. I kind of hit that mark pretty good, and I guess that's a good thing when we talk
Yeah,
about protein. So
for
yeah,
sure.
cool. Well, I don't think we have any questions that came in, but if anyone does have questions later on, feel free to reach out. We definitely want your peanut butter preference.
Oh, yeah.
But we'll be back here. We'll be back here next Wednesday. Once again, though, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Send us a message or comment below. And this was fun. This was fun. Hopefully, you learned a lot. And eat your fats.
Eat your fats.
All right, bye, guys.
See ya.